नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। कटाक्षकिरणाचान्त नमन्मोहाब्धये नमः अनन्तानन्दकृष्णाय जगन्मङ्गलमूर्तये। You can borrow the books from there if you want. Fifth shloka. Repeat after me. This is going to be a tongue twister. 24th page, 5th shloka. न शोषप्लोषविक्लेद छेदाच्छिन्नभसो मम satyairapyanilāgnyambhaḥ śastraiḥ kimuta kalpitaiḥ. This is a very good tongue twister, wherein for those of us who have a problem to pronounce sa, sha, sha, this has to be memorized in the right pronunciation. All the confusion of sa, sha, sha will be gone. Sa is considered dantya. Dantya meaning the tongue has to touch the teeth, the upper teeth specifically. Sa. The air when it comes out, sa. The gums on the top of the upper teeth is Sharada Sha. Then what is the difference between that and that which comes in, say, USHA? The tongue has to roll up into the cavity, Usha. It is with excessive force where the air has to be restricted for that sound to come. So, śoṣaploṣa, nice tongue twister. Yesterday, in the 4th shloka, we saw na svatah pratyavijñānāt niramshatvat nacha anyatah nacha ashraya vinashanme vinashaha syat anashrayat. Anashrayat. The point here that has been taken to discussion, if we rewind back to the 2nd shloka. In the 2nd shloka, we saw that the idea has to be turned into a conviction that when we do Shravana, idea is grasped. Ideally, that much is sufficient for the Uttamadhikari. Jnana happens right then and there. It is recognized. Cognition means to be aware of. Recognize that which is my own being, my own entity, I have decognized. I have stopped being aware of it. So now I have to recognize it. Let's go back to it. Understanding the very true nature of my own self is one aspect of it. And while to understand that, to understand my state of being is the very state of the Brahma Tattva as well, is the oneness in that Brahman. Ideally, this knowledge, as soon as spoken, understood through Shravana, Jnana has to happen. Don't imagine, visualize some kind of a sudden, mysterious, mystical experience that you start levitating or you start carrying a halo on your back, and suddenly holiness starts overflowing. Nothing of that visualization. It is actually in reality a simple change of perspective. That is realizing. So the example I had taken while we were studying Atma Bodha was, when Karna comes and asks, who is my mother, who are my parents? She says, I had the firstborn, and that firstborn, the very words that she uses in Mahabharata, she says, makes my number of children as 6, and the firstborn, Tattvamasi he Karna. She gives the absolute knowledge to him, that thou art. As soon as he realizes that he is the firstborn of Kunti Devi, and that Kunti and Panduraja were the parents, or are the parents, his realization has happened. Suddenly he didn't start levitating. As soon as that knowledge was given that you are Tattvamasi, I am that, was his experience. Aham asmi. Am I getting across the simplicity of perspective change? That which you were seeking, that which you were searching for, has appeared. The mirror, you have already perceived your own image. You now understand who you are. Similarly, when the Guru says, you are that Brahman, you are that very substratum, knowing is one aspect, and then being one with that Brahma Tattva, that I and that Brahma Tattva are no different at all in whatever sense. Now for the Madhyamadhikari, since that in that positioning of Jnana, Guru Mukhataha did not happen because there are several doubts. Most of us fall into that category. Why? There are several doubts. How can that which is called Sarvagnya, Sarvavyapi, Sarvashaktiman, omniscient, omnipotent, and all-knowing, all pervading, how can that be me? I am so limited. My pervasiveness is the width of the chair. Whoever designed it took several tens and thousands of averages and then decided this should be the most optimal level which could suit 98%. I mean, technically speaking, if they can't fit here, they will have to fit there. Not that anybody who sits there is defining that. Don't get me wrong. Because too much of Vedanta, implied meaning, there is no implied meaning there. That much is our pervasiveness. And to talk of Shakti, it is like a spurt. Born helplessly, gather strength day by day, year by year, reach to a peak, and having reached to the peak, in American English, there is a usage. They say going down the hill. You have peaked, and after having peaked, it is only going down from there. So my way of looking at it was to poke fun at it and saying, that must be easier, right? Going down the hill, you just have to roll. It's the most difficult. You start losing all the capacities. Seeing, hearing, digestion, walking. You come to a point wherein you wait until you gather about 5-6 things to do in a particular direction, then get up so that you can finish up all of those and come back and sit. Otherwise, usually our format is one thing pops up, we run, finish it, come back, sit, another pops, again go. By that time, the energy to even get up and walk becomes difficult. So the energy is dwindling. I am not Sarvashaktiman. It is a losing battle. That I have to take support of so many things. For seeing, I have to have something. For hearing, I have to have an aid. The heart doesn't pace well, so I have to have something which makes that pace. Pacemaker. Shoulders are frozen, so replace the shoulder. Hip is in its own hippie mode. Those of you who know the hippie times. The entire thing is going in one direction, hip is going in another direction. So the hip replacement, knee replacement, cataract, one after the other. Then comes, I am not Sarvagnya either. There was a time in my life when I thought I knew everything. That is called teenage, wherein the audacity is to claim, मेरे को सब मालूम है, I know everything. That's why I call that as an IKEA attitude, with the same spelling as the store. I know everything already. As I step into the world of experience, out of the umbrella, out of the shelter, out of the secured environment, of the people that I never liked because it felt like it always stopped it resisted my independence. Now that I get that independence is when I start understanding, oh my goodness, there is so much I don't even know. Simple things, still I don't know. Somebody defined very beautifully what is knowledge and what is wisdom. He says, knowledge is to know that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is understanding that it should not be used in a fruit salad. We do all funny things, even for simple things. You start calling up your father, you start calling up your mother. Dad, the bike is not working. Have you turned the knob to the reserve? Oh, it worked. Mom, I have put everything that which the recipe says into the oil. They say that the mustard has to splatter. Why is it not splattering? The mom knowing you, because you are the genetic explosion and an extension of that mother. Have you turned on the flame underneath? Oh, it did not say in the recipe. As simple as that. To understand the banking, to understand the governance, to understand the economy, to understand various aspects. Then you start feeling, where was I? I thought I knew everything. As I start growing, I see that what I claimed I knew is infinitesimally small aspect of all that which can be known. That is the amount of my sarvajñatva. Vyapakatva we understood, Shakti we understood, Jnana we understand. It is nowhere close to that supreme. And now you say that there is no difference at all. There is the confusion of the very logic itself. So there are several doubts. Then there is the logic of, not logic, but the very vocabulary of the Vedanta Shastra, framework of Vedanta Shastra. We come with various backgrounds, scientific background, psychological background, law background, economy background. And now we want to fit that Vedanta into our kind of framework and try see how this framework can fit in. If it fits in, then I will accept. That is the only logic that I know. That is the only framework that I am exposed to. And it will fail in all angles possible. It is like trying to put a round nut on a square bolt. अरे ये तो फिट ही नहीं होता. Therefore Vedanta is not applicable. And then the vocabulary of that Vedanta. We use the intellect, but then we end up saying, my mind is all, cloggy. After COVID, they started using foggy mind. It's the intellect that has gotten fogged up. But then I end up saying, my mind. The vocabulary says something else. The entire vocabulary has to have a reshuffle, redefinition. We use happiness for everything. Vedanta says that is joy. Joy, that which you enjoy. That is temporary in nature. Therefore, Vedanta also invents another word, it says bliss. And you keep smiling at your own life saying, what bliss? Full of blisters only. Again the confusion. They say that they ask me to trust the scriptures and the logic of the scripture, that which I see, hear, taste, smell, touch, that is a reality. And Vedanta says that is unreal. That which I have never tasted, never touched, never smelt, never experienced, they say that is real. I say, okay, explain it. They say, no words can explain it. I said, what kind of losing battle is this? Then comes There is Brahman, there is one layer. There is Ishvara, there is another layer. There is Hiranyagarbha, another layer. Then Virata, another layer. Then there is Sukshma Tanmatra. Then there is Sthula Panchamahabhuta. All of this explanation given. Now comes the scientific mindset. But science says everything came from a bang. It was very big. There's a Big Bang. There is no mention of Big Bang. How can this fit in? There are so many fossilized creatures. I don't find them today. The very origin of human, this is all the scientific framework. And then we now want everything to be explained scientifically. Science has a different framework. Vedanta has a different framework. That understanding itself that the frameworks are different, it takes quite some time. We are so lost, embedded in one framework, and we believe that only one framework is there to be applied. There are several frameworks. There are several layers, several standpoints. We mix one standpoint to the other standpoint and create confusion. Confusion. If all of this has to be detached from and given up, why even start? Then they say, no, you have karma, vasana, this is a chakra, you have to deplete the layers of vasana. Kab tak? I've spent like 20, 30, 40 years into it. I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. These are all different layers of confusions, doubts. Because my framework leads me to conclude a different kind of experience. This framework concludes in a different state of experience. That experience and this experience is not matching because the framework is itself different. Have you ever used the metro line in Hyderabad? What are the different lines? Green line, red line, blue line. So green line is one framework, red line is another framework, blue line is another framework. You are accustomed to one framework and then you draw unusual equalities, unusual parameters to equalize things. That also runs on railway track. This also runs on railway track. That also has wheels. This also has wheels. That also has an engine. This also has an engine. That also has compartments. This also has compartments. Same to same. अरे framework ही अलग है, direction अलग है. You will reach to some other place. Add to that the sense of secularity and the confusion of all religions lead to the same. When the framework is itself different, though there looks a lot of similarity, how can it lead to the same? Another big layer of confusion there. And within the framework, even if you come to the framework, another bhelpuri that we make out of it is karma also leads to the same thing, bhakti also leads to the same thing, dhyana also leads to the same thing, karma also leads to the same thing. I mean, if it all leads to the same thing, why have four? Different tastes, No, they don't lead to the same thing. Karma, bhakti, dhyana, they come under a larger umbrella of kriya. You have to convert them into kriya. And they are meant only for purification. Jnanat evadu kaivalyam. There is only one way out. And that is only through jnana. But there are several who say that the bhakti will take you there. Bhakti will take you to a very purified state. Karma yoga will, not karma. Karma alone it is impossible to take. The bhava, the attitude of that karma yoga will take you there. The purpose of dhyana is completely different. We have made a big business out of it, made a big chocho out of it. For anything and everything these days, the solution is dhyan karo. Blood pressure, BP, heart, sugar, migraine, stomach ache, knee pain, neck pain, any pain, meditation karo. It's the very baseline which Bhagavan Krishna himself has said in 6th chapter, that mind which has now gathered itself, focused and well-tuned mind, bring that kind of prepared mind onto the seat of meditation to meditate. No preparation at all, because it seems very easy. Come, sit, close your eyes. And then there is another confusion. I mean, wrongly applied in different things. See, when you drill a hole to draw crude oil, there are several byproducts when you purify. Several. There is petrol, there is diesel, there is kerosene, there is paraffin, and then at the end what is left behind is a black sticky dung. We call it tar. We mix it with the stone chips and we call it asphalt. Tar road, dambar road. You don't drill for extracting tar. Tar is only a byproduct. Similarly, dhyana purpose is not all of this. The purpose is something sublime. And dhyana does not lead to realization. Dhyan karo, realize karo. There are whole organizations set up only for dhyana. Think dhyana will lead to it. Where is a logical pramana to it? Absolutely none. Dhyana / nididhyasana, what is its purpose? To remove that jnana is ascertained, doubts are cleared, but then there are several aneka janma samprapta karma bandha. Those erroneous habitual patterns have to be eradicated one after the other. Therefore, sincere contemplation on that Supreme has to be done to ascertain it, to remove those patterns. That is called dhyana. At least that is what Vedanta Shastra describes it as. So all these layers of confusion, if they have to be removed, manana has to be done. So we did one manana through Atma Bodha. Now here we stepped up and shifted the gear. So in the very second shloka in Advaita Makaranda, he says, the opening statement itself, instead of saying that, therefore you start contemplating on the idea of you being Brahman. He says, his entire perspective is different. Lakshmidhara Kavi, when I say he, the one who scribed this beautiful text. In the very opening statement, he says, Brahman is Satchidananda, you are Satchidananda, how can you not be the same? It is self-evident, isn't it? He says. Brahman is Satchidananda Swarupa. You are Sat, you exist, don't you? I exist. You know that you exist. Yes, that is called Chit. Do you ever have a position where you don't like yourself? No, I am the most loved by me. I may not like the shape of the body that I am in. I may not like the different aspects of my mind or intellect, but that is not me. It is already proven through even the Prakarana Granthas. I have never had a position where I don't hate myself. And since I don't hate myself, I find another extension of that logic is, I like something because that is what gives me Ananda. I like myself because I am the very nature of Ananda. Therefore, Satchidananda is proven. How can you not be anything other than Brahman? This is called Swarupa Lakshana. Then he takes up Tatastha Lakshana. In that Tatastha Lakshana he says, Brahman is defined as the very Adhara of this creation. How can you now prove that Atma Chaitanya, the self, is that supreme being? Is it the very substratum of this creation? In the Upanishad there is a statement, Yator nanabhisrajate grunhate cha. Like the spider spins forth the web from its own self and then withdraws it back unto itself. Similarly, the Brahman projects this creation. Then we went through the steps. The logical steps of that projection is Brahman, as soon as recognizing Ichha Jnana Kriya Shakti, becomes Ishvara. That Ishvara now envisions. That envisioning before expression is called Hiranyagarbha. After expressing as the totality, it is called Virata. That Virata, when now solidifies into individuality, that is called Prapancha or Jagat. In that Jagat, you, me and every being, Chara and Achara, is called the Jiva. Now if the process is understood, now we have to re-engineer it, reverse engineer it. From where we are to where we should be. Now how is this Atma Chaitanya the Karana for this entire creation? He says, just like we create and project and become an integral part of our own dream. To the dream, it is I, the consciousness, which is enabling the dream to exist, be projected. Of course, it is through the mind, through that instrument of Antakarana. But yet, after I become the part and parcel, integral of that dream, do I remember that I alone have projected it? I act as though everything in that dream world is going against me. We have seen people scream in their dreams. We have seen people perspirate because they have had a terrible dream. It feels so real that your body starts reacting to it, which is not in the same plane as the dream. It is on the psychological level, but in the physiological level there seems to be an impact of it. Suddenly I get kicked out of it only to realize, thank goodness that was only a dream. But you have to wake up from it to understand that it is a dream. Similarly, Vedanta says this Jagrata Avastha cannot exist and persist without the conscious principle being aware of it. What happens to this Jagrata Avastha when you are in Sushupti Avastha? Both the Jagrata Avastha and the Sushupti Avastha are mere projections. They cease to exist when you go into deep sleep. Therefore, the Tatastha Lakshana is explained. Then in the fourth shloka we saw that there is this aspect, the nature of Brahman as eternity. That which was, that which is, that shall be, that which has never ceased to exist. Everything else other than that which is seen has a sense of temporariness to it. Some more temporary than the other. There was this fellow who went into the village market, usually one day of the week, where all people with all their produce, they come and sell. So one such village market, and he was known for his pranks. 70-year-old fellow. He announces, and a very controversial statement. He says that when I was 7-year-old, I am the same. I have not changed a bit. So everybody gathers and said, prove it. So Buddha ho gaya. He says, so what? It's a body that has aged. I am the same. How does he prove it? He gathers all of these people, takes them through the village. People not knowing why they are following this fellow, they also join, and he takes them to a nearby hillock. There is a big boulder. And in contrast to that, he says, at 7 I could not push it, at 70 I cannot push it, I am still the same. Wrong conclusion. The stone is the same. So what is Nitya Vastu? Trikala abadhita vastu nityam. That which is past, present, future remains the same, unmoving, unchanged, without any disintegration, without any fragmentation, impeccable in its stature. That is called Nitya Vastu. That which cannot be destroyed is Nitya Vastu. Everything perishes in time. Even time also perishes. If time perishes, space also perishes. So the angle or the logic given, he says, na swataha, I do not destroy myself. Then the second logic given is, nor by any. One is nirnimitta. Swataha nirnimitta. Then the second one is anya nimitta. Anya nimitta, the other things that can destroy. What it can destroy is my stature, is my respect, is my feelings, my body, but I still continue to exist. All these other things have limbs to it, and the only thing which does not have any limbs to be destroyed. Then the ashraya nimitta. The body gets supported by food, water, air that we breathe, without which to continue to persist this body becomes impossible. You'll starve to death. Similarly, the mind feels suffocated when it is not recognized. So the child, and you were in the same room, child, I mean, still a toddler, not an infant but a toddler. He falls, and just as he falls, you made sure that there is nothing dangerous happening. It is one of those, he is still learning how to walk, he has fallen. They said, "Theek hai," and you walk to the next room. And that fellow feels so left out. He will drag himself up start toddling to the room where you are, show what has hurt, and then start crying. Right from that age. वहीं पे उसको ऑस्कर देना चाहिए. I mean, if you have fallen there, if you have been hurt there, and it was hurting you, paining you there, you kept quiet, picked yourself up, and then walked all the way to the next room. And then wherever I am, you come and now show it and then start crying. Attention seeking syndrome. Don't abbreviate it. Because we make that of ourselves. Mind feels suffocated. In torture chambers, psychological torture chambers, that is what they break. Then in the buddhi, ideas. If my idea presented is accepted, then I feel I am accepted, therefore I am respected. If my idea presented is not accepted, I feel I am not accepted, therefore I am disrespected. What was accepted or not accepted? It was the idea. But then I feel tortured when it is not accepted. Ashraya. These are the ashraya of different limbs. Anashrayatvat. I do not have these limbs, I do not feel suffocated as the conscious entity. Ashraya nimitta also cannot destroy. Yesterday in the beginning of the lecture I had mentioned a shloka from Bhagavad Gita. Achedyo yamadahyoyam akledyo shoshya evacha nitya sarvagata sthanuhu achaloyam sanatanaha. But I did not go ahead and explain it. Why? Because today's shloka is the very explanation of that. Therefore, the tongue twister. What does the tongue twister say? Nashosha aplosha vikleda. Actually, up until chhedaha, it is one compound word. śoṣaploṣavikledacchedāścinnabhaso or chhedaha, that is one word. So, śoṣaploṣavikledacchedāścinnabhaso. We are talking about 4 elements that can destroy. What are these 4? The air has the quality to dry, especially when you are in the coastal belt. Vijayawada, Machilipatnam, Nellore, Chennai, Bombay, you are in these kinds of coastal areas. It is a namesake that you have taken a shower. As soon as you have taken the shower and step out, it is not, you have dried yourself up. But as soon as you step outside, you are sweating like a pig. FYI, pigs don't sweat. You are an unusual pig that sweats. So what do? We turn the fan on full blast. Or turn the AC on full. What does the air do? It dries up. Dries up what? The moisture content. In this kind of monsoon weather, though we dry clothes outside, with the possibility that it can become more wet than when you have hung them on the rope for drying, because the rain can splatter and the crosswinds can bring that moisture and the clothes become. Well, luckily it had dried, but not dried enough. So what do? The biggest space available in the house, all the possible things that which you can throw them on. For me it is dhoti, angavastra and the kurta that I wear. So each one go on one chair under the fan. Karte ki nahi? Not in the room that you sleep, because it will get too cold. Therefore, in the other room where nobody is sleeping, where you throw all of this, turn the fan full blast. By morning, the expectation is all the moisture content is removed, dry up. The air dries up. See, as much as oxygen gives us the life breath to keep us continuing, the doctor here can say, is there something called oxygen poisoning? Excessive oxygen, that can also kill. That which is supposed to save us can also kill us. Did we know that? Excessive oxygen, there is a certain percentage which the lungs can handle, beyond which that which is supposed to save can kill. Arre baapre. The air can dry. That is śoṣaploṣa, burning fire. In most of the Indian traditions, the last rites, Antima Samskara. There are total of 42 samskaras, that womb to the tomb, we have to, womb to the fire, not to. We have to go through, of which 16 are mandated. Vivaha, Garbhadhana, then Jata Karma, we are born. From there, all the way up to the last. Even the last is considered as a samskara. And it's a very holistic approach. Though that is not the intent of the shloka, but because we are in that line, might as well mention it. The body is burnt, wherein all the elements are sent back to their nascent form, from that which has gathered to become this body. What is left behind is pure uncorrupted carbon. And what do we do with that? We don't just throw it away somewhere. Not just any water. Either it has to be a perennially flowing river or into the ocean. Why mostly to the river? It's a recycling process. Recycling is not new to Hindu Dharma. Might be those who claim themselves as Hindu but not connected with their samskaras. We have to reinvent the word to say samskara as this particular samskara as recycling. You drop all these ashes into the river, that river again goes into feeding the agriculture canals, and that carbonized nitrogen rich water now goes into the feeder, and the plants get the enough sufficient required minerals. Body can be burnt. Harm can be done to the body through the fire. Burning can destroy. So I think in one of the classes in Balavihar, when I was trying to explain, this kid said, when you throw a bomb or a grenade, Swamiji, what kills? He was expecting me to say fire. Actually, it is not the fire. It releases such amount of sound energy that the air particles get super agitated, super vibrating, that agitating, vibrating sound waves, when it hits your body, the body disintegrates. That is how they die. The kid was happy. Oh, so you know how a bomb kills. So, but in this fact, what killed? Which element killed? If not the fire? I said, the sound travels in air. And it's the air particles that kill. Therefore, it is the air. Air, fire. Then Vikleda. Vikleda means to wet. Drowning. Because drying we have already seen, that is the aspect of lack of water, but what dries is actually the air. Drowning can kill. That's why it is the most senseless form of torture, waterboarding. Without being water, if the face is covered and water is thrown on it, you become suffocated. Excessive of water, it can kill. So how many elements have we seen? Last one. Chedana. Chedana, different formats of earth that can be used in the format of astra shastra. Died with blunt head trauma. Something massive taken to hit. It can be a piece of log, it can be a hammer, it can be whatever. Swamiji, are we studying Vedanta here or some kind of crime scene investigation? These are the things that are used, that can have the capacity to destroy. That is the only aspect. Or a sharp instrument, knife, spear, that can kill. These are all earth elements that have been modified, reshaped in such a way that it can kill. It can destroy. None of these four can even touch upon, even imagine to destroy space, the fifth element. Nabhasaha. When the fifth, the subtlest of the element, again, since we are talking about the subtlety of the elements, how do we decide the subtlety of the elements? What is the parameter to decide that one is grosser than the other, one is subtler than the other? Pervasiveness. A piece of stone stays in its state of inertia or motion unless until there is a external force applied. Where did you hear this? Newton's law of motion. Third one everybody remembers. Very simple. Every action has equal and opposite reaction. Second law. It stays in the state of motion or inertia unless until there is an external force applied. That is its status. That is its pervasiveness. Water gets two-dimensional. It can flow from higher to lower. Air, three-dimensional. X, Y and the Z axis or the Z axis. Fire, also three-dimensional. More than the fire, you light the agarbatti here. Not today, but you light the agarbatti here. But that smell, the effervescence of it spreads. Fire is there only on the tip, but it spreads all across. Pervasiveness. Space is that. It is called Akasha. The very definition of Akasha is Avakashat Akasha. That which provides room for all of these elements to function in and under is called space. See, as long as I hold like this, what is this called? Palm. Thank you. You didn't say Congress. Let's not make Vedanta class political. So now I create the space in between. Now what is it? The palm has become expressed as now fingers. Fist, palm, fingers. Space has increased. Space meaning that which accommodates all of these in itself. So we have not created a house or a room or a hall to call it a house or a hall space, a separate space. The child comes to the parent and says, I cannot live under this roof. I need my own space. Then the father should go all ballistic Vedanta. This is neither your space nor my space. We only identify with it, calling it my space or your space. The space is eternal. Dad, what I mean is I need my own four walls with some room in it, where you and your influence, it does not influence me. So I am stepping out, I am taking another space for myself. Though it is for Vyavahara, we say this space, that space. Can space really be divided? When the pot breaks, is there a slow motion hug from the inner space to the outer space? How long we have been separated? Was it ever separated? So there are no songs between this space and that space, as long as it is in the pot. Gum hai judai ka mausam. There was never judai. Therefore there is no gum. The fire cannot burn it. Earth cannot separate it. The fire cannot burn it. The water cannot wet it, let alone suffocate it. It cannot wet it. Air cannot dry it. If the space cannot be wet, where is the opportunity for the air to dry? Am I getting across? Absence of air in a closed room can be called as stale. The space has not become stale. You open the doors and windows, aerate it. The staleness is removed when there is cross ventilation. Space is untouched by it. That which gives support for even that space to exist in is the existential principle, the conscious being, in who the space exists. So who is the subtlest? See, the self is the subtlest, without whose awareness the space cannot exist. So the conclusion that he is drawing is mind-boggling. He says, satyaihi api, even if we take it into consideration that these four elements are real, that none of these four elements can even touch the space, let alone have an impact on the self. Even if we consider it as real. But then what is the status of all these Panchamahabhutas, whether they are Panchikrita or Apanchikrita? First shloka, second wave of thought, when we saw the Tatastha Lakshana, that all of this is seen, and if it is seen, its existence can be only as a projected reality. If it is a mere projection, what to talk of it then? When there is a burning house scene projected onto the screen, do you have to take buckets of water and fire extinguisher to save the screen? It is a mere projection. It does not burn a hole into that screen. Just as much as that which is projected onto the screen cannot impact the screen, there is a gory scene, there is a dirty screen, there is a heinous crime on that scene. Does the screen become unholy, maligned? Does it have any impact of any kind of mala? It stays vimala, it stays nirmala. So there are two layers of logic given here. That is what is the beauty of this text. He says, even if we take it as a real substantial one, it does not offer any kind of destructive objection to the Atma Chaitanya. But anyway, they are a projected reality. How can it impact? Meaning what? Is there anything of that which is in the projected reality, or the modification and manipulation or different permutations and combinations of these elements which express as this multitude control you, the Chaitanya Tattva? When there is a situation, and in that situation you have to make a choice of doing absolute right or take the conveniences and stray away from it, saying that I was compelled to do something wrong, I didn't have a choice. Atma Chaitanya doesn't get succumbed to these kinds of things. That which is a manipulation of these five elements expressing to create a pressure, how can they create that pressure? I, that Atma Chaitanya, can never. Understand the implications of this. The one who understands this lives the life of dharma. Because that is how Swadharma Lakshana expresses. Swadharma meaning Swasya Dharma, which is that I being that Satchidananda Atma Chaitanya. It is in tune. There can be no aberrations in its essential format of existence, because it has no rupture with anything. How can it have a rupture with that which is a projected reality? Anyway, those cannot affect even the fifth element. How can it affect the substratum? Therefore, in conclusion, all of these elements, all of these different causes that can destroy anything within the parameter cannot destroy me. Therefore, I am that Nitya Vastu, I am that which is eternal. Therefore, I cannot be anything other than Brahma Tattva, Brahma Chaitanya. What beautifully logically arrived at. Now we have to do a lot of manana on the implications of it, which I have just highlighted in few numbers. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhavet, Asato Ma Satgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shant Shant Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Happy Independence Day to all of you. We were talking about Swatantrata, that this Atma Chaitanya is not manipulated, let alone be regulated by any of these elements. To us that who believe in such high principle, 1947 we got the independence. Now what we have to work on, and that is also a part of our manana that we have to do, as a nation, are we truly free? Whether it is our culture, whether it is our tradition, whether it is our customs, whether it is our civilizational value, is it totally free? If not, the land got its freedom by expelling the oppressors. But the people have to gain that freedom. That is something worth doing manana for. Happy Independence Day. Hari Om.